Hey, what's up Soundbar people? Daniel here from Never Enough Tech. Welcome, happy to see you. This is a long video. Find the time codes and corrections in the description. Go ahead and skip around, you won't hurt my feelings. While you're in the general region, subscribe and like as many times as you can. So today we do Civil War between two homegrown American home theater companies that both like to make their flagship soundbars round, but other than that, well, different paths for sure. I'm talking about, of course, the very new VIZIO Elevate, a 5.1.4 or 7.1.2 soundbar system, which so far has had a price ranging from I think $700 to $1,000 and was released late October this year, 2020. And the contender? The Sonos Arc soundbar system. It's $1,856 and a 5.1.2 channel system released June 2020. Well, to be specific, the Arc soundbar and the third generation sub were released in June 2020 anyway. So it's a huge price difference. Does the extra $1,000 get you a better soundbar system? I'm gonna tell you my opinion by the end, but hopefully I'll give you enough information that you can decide for yourself. Anyway, I thought this was always obvious due to my rather homespun goofy vibe down here, but to make it 100% clear, I buy all these soundbars. All monies are transferred from me to the soundbar companies. As such, you are getting my very honest, unaffected opinion, which is not always super nice. If you don't like that I badmouth your favorite soundbar, it's not because I'm being paid. I'm just a mean person. Blame my parents. That being said, if you have warm feelings for this channel and you're in a shopping mood, maybe consider some of my affiliate links in the description. That is an easy way to support the channel without costing you anything extra. All right, let's jump in and quickly review the components of each system. The Elevate. Feel free to watch my unboxing video for a more leisurely encounter. So you get a soundbar, a subwoofer, and two wired rear surrounds. The wires are included and connect directly to the subwoofer. I know this is a bummer, they're not truly wireless. Maybe don't write this product off yet. Virtually all soundbar surrounds have a wire, whether power or audio, so just keep that in mind. You get a remote. VIZIO also includes wall mounts for the bar and surrounds, and complementary auxiliary cords to cover the many port options, which I'll explain a little later. VIZIO's cool like that. All right, the Arc system. The Arc system fully spec'd is the Sonos Arc, so $799, a Gen 3 sub, $699, and two Sonos One SLs, both $179. So that's how it puts an $1,856 dent in your wallet. Maybe it's not ideal. I will be testing with my Gen 1 sub. It still subs pretty good. And Sonos Ones, which are the same as the SLs, but add mic and voice assistance. So there is some good news on the Sonos price. At the time this video was published, if you have old Sonos products, you can get discounts from 15 to 30%, and no, you will not be required to brick your old products. So you can get the whole shebang for $1,300. That price point sounds a lot better to me. Anyway, for mounting the soundbar and surrounds, you are probably looking at around $100 or more, depending on the hardware you choose. Wouldn't blame you if you chose the Elevate on that little piece of information alone. Okay, we're acquainted with the systems and the reviewer. Let's put up the scoreboard. All else being equal, and it's not, I'll go ahead and give the Elevate 3 points for being as low as 37% of the price of the Arc system and providing a wall mount. Sonos already has some work to do to catch up. Design and build. These systems become an architectural element in your living space, so I take the looks seriously, though understandably not the most important aspect of a soundbar. The Elevate soundbar design is unique, to say the least. It won a Red Dot Award and has a patent pending for its. With the Elevate soundbar, you have 3 jurisdictions: brains, center speakers, and rotating speakers. The brains district is in the back with a flat top, rounded back, and flat bottom. Save all the port cutouts and rubber feet. And we have this reservoir. What the heck is it? There is no accessory in the box that fits this, and there is no mount on the website that might fit this. Well, I lied. There is a mount on the website. It's a bit pricey. It ranges from $1,300 to $2,000. And it's right here. It's specifically designed to be mounted on a VIZIO OLED stand. So this bar gives you a reason to keep it on if you mount the TV to the wall. VIZIO, hats off, you're a weirdo. The brains are covered in a ridged plastic that sound like this, and is capped on each side with a smooth plastic. On the left side of the brains, you have your bar buttons. VIZIO does manage to put its full name on the top left part of the brains. Next, we have the center speakers that are covered by a, let's say, more or less perfectly circular perforated anodized aluminum grille. The rotating speakers are on the end and have a subtle but clear gap separating them from the center speakers. These rotating speakers are also covered in a circular anodized aluminum housing. The side caps on the rotating speakers have a VIZIO V. The feet on the bottom of the brains does provide enough to bar lift for these speakers to rotate while sitting on a stand. Though, if you mess with the clearance around the rotating speaker, your bar will walk, roll, however a droid walks away. The Sonos soundbar, the Arc, is more monolithic. It has a circular front. From the side, you can see the Arc has an oval shape. There is a minor indent on the sides that adds a little visual intrigue. There is a hard rectangular plastic slate on the back to assist with wall mounting, and you'll find the Sonos logo right in the center of the bar on the front. The Arc's case is a sturdy plastic, no fancy metal of which to brag. Perhaps of interest, the Elevate is 48 inches wide, pretty much a perfect width for a 55-inch TV. The Arc is also taller, perhaps obscuring more of your TV. It's 3.4 inches versus the Elevate that's 2.6 inches. So the Elevate is just 75% the height of the Arc. I really hate when bars obscure the TV. It's a first world problem, but a severe one. The two subs take a wildly different approach. The Elevate sub is a tower on short legs. The 8-inch 30Hz supporting driver is hidden and facing down. You'll find the air valve, power port, power button, and surround ports on the back. The sub is made of medium density fiberboard, or MDF. The Sonos sub is extremely unique. It has an O shape. This is helpful because you can see right through it and yell at your family. The Sonos tagline is, "It's meant to be seen and heard." Sonos is so biased. I don't disagree, it's certainly much more stylish than any of the kit subs I've seen so far. But maybe it's too ostentatious for your taste. I can see that too. The Sonos submaterial is of much higher quality than the Elevate, being largely made of resin. The sub drivers line the front-back inner portion of the opening. It's all very unique and cool. It has a force canceling mechanism that contributes to its clean, low buzz, low distortion sound profile. The sub alone is $700, the same price that I paid for the entire Elevate system. So the sub better have some cool tricks, like support for 25 Hz. How low can you go? The Elevate surrounds are quite small and light, with a metal grille covering the top and front speaker. The same grille material as the soundbar, with a big rubber pad on the bottom. The wired connection and mounting hole are on the back. When you pick these surrounds up, they feel empty. By just feel alone, you don't get the sense that it's going to contribute to exceptional sound. The wire for each surround is 26 feet. Hopefully you can hide all that wire in the wall or under a couch. The Sonos surrounds have a weight, feel, style, just a general density that really does seem several steps above the quality you'll find in the kit soundbar systems, even though it's just plastic. The shape is a rounded square with a plastic grille wrapping the front, sides, and some of the back. The top is flat, flush, with capacitive buttons, and the bottom rounds to a flat surface with 4 little rubber feet. You have a connection button and Ethernet port on the back, and a power port on the bottom. There is no mounting hole, which is really inconvenient to say the least. It forces you to buy a more specialized mount. I think there may be a tie on build quality, though I have to say as a unit, the Arc system brings more styling intrigue. Gonna give Sonos a point here. Speaker array. The Elevate soundbar is either a 5.0 channel soundbar, or if the two rotating speakers are rotated up, you have a 3.0.2 channel speaker. Yes, the rotating speakers. It's the first soundbar to do it. And it's why the system is called the Elevate. Do the rotating speakers create a sound difference that I can discern with my eyes closed? We'll see. So with the speakers rotated down, you have a left, center, center right, and right channel. Or when the speakers are rotated up, you have a center left, center right, and an upward firing left and right channel. The Elevate comes at you pretty strong with 18 total drivers. You'll find a dual woofer tweeter trio in each of the center channels. Dual woofers gives any particular channel the ability to span a wider range of frequencies, which enables a richer, more nuanced sound than if one of the woofers were removed. The two rotating channels on the bar are a single woofer tweeter pair. The Sonos Arc is not as mutatable as the Elevate. It is a 5.0.2 bar with a left, center, center right, and right ear level channel, and it has left and right upward firing channels. The Arc differentiates itself from the Elevate by including side firing speakers that, like upward firing speakers, are intended to bounce sound off walls and back at you. Only the center channel has a dual woofer tweeter pair. The left and right center channels have only a single woofer tweeter pair. The remaining drivers on the sides and top are just a single woofer. So the Elevate bar has 5 total channels and the Arc has 7 channels. Both have 8 woofers. The Elevate has 5 tweeters, the Arc has 3 tweeters. So one might say the Elevate soundbar is quality over quantity when it comes to channels. The Elevate surrounds are both a 1.0.1 channel speaker, so a forward and height level speaker. Each channel is comprised of a single woofer. All of the Sonos speakers that look like this, the Play ones, the 1SLs, have only an ear level channel, but it's made of a woofer tweeter pair. Staying true to our math project, the Sonos surrounds are each 1.0 speakers. And obviously the subwoofers both put the .1 right there in the middle. So to recap, you have the Elevate system with 18 drivers, the 5.1.4 system. We'll just assume they're rotated up. And with the Sonos, you have a 16 driver system and is a 7.1.2 system. Well, actually no. Sonos, for whatever reason, did not feel like making the surrounds a true 6th and 7th ear level channel. They can act as either a separate stereo pair mimicking the pared down mix of the soundbar, or ambient sound makers that I suppose is constructed via a proprietary mix of channels from the bar, mostly entirely excluding the dialogue center channel. So it's really odd, but the Sonos system is really only a 5.1.2 system. Sonos fans should spam Sonos every day to release a rear surround with an upward firing speaker and an update that can make the rear speakers a true 6th and 7th channel. Sonos, you'll sell a bunch of speakers and gain a lot more respect in the space. Make it happen, do the thing. I'm not going to award points here. It really all comes down to how happy the sound makes me in the sound quality section. Setup complexity. With VIZIO, it's quite easy to get the soundbar to make sound. It's more or less a plug and play. I did run into a lot of problems when connecting the Elevate to my network. Not sure how widespread this problem is, but it was extremely frustrating. Though theoretically, it's not many steps. The sub and surrounds don't need to be managed separately other than being plugged in. With Sonos, the initial setup is a little more involved than is typical with the soundbar system, but I have to say it results in a more stable connection in the long term. Nonetheless, setup involves tinkering in the app for each speaker, so 4 in total. I should point out though that Sonos has reimagined the setup process to be a little more streamlined and quite happily is now able to be completely managed from the couch. There is no need to walk around to each speaker and press confirmatory buttons. But overall, I'll give Elevate the point in that it's significantly faster to get all the speakers working. I know some customers really appreciate that. Audio codec support. Let's separate this into traditional surround sound, 3D sound, and music. Anyway, for traditional surround sound, the Elevate supports 3 big audio codec pillars. Dolby Digital Plus, the way you get surround sound from Netflix, Prime Video, etc. It's compressed surround sound, not lossless. DTS, the way Blu-rays traditionally offer surround sound, typically lossless. And LPCM, the way you get multi-channel audio from your gaming consoles, or Apple TV. While the Elevate supports all of these, Sonos, just Dolby Digital Plus, not DTS. So when I say not DTS, it's not like it spits out some lossy DTS. DTS doesn't sound very good on Sonos. It spits out silence. But you know, with Sonos, it's a rich, smooth silence, an expensive silence. The big players for 3D audio are DTS:X and Dolby Atmos. The Elevate supports both of these 3D audio formats. Sonos only supports Dolby Atmos and silent DTS:X. Both of these bars support the washed-down Dolby Atmos from Dolby Digital Plus and the uncompressed Dolby Atmos from Dolby True HD. You can set the Elevate to automatically rotate the rotatable speakers when 3D audio is playing, which smugly reveals 3D audio logos. Your music codec support, and yes, soundbars can do music too. While Elevate is not totally clear about all the audio formats it supports, and at what fidelity. No indication that it supports high-res music formats. Sonos supports the full platter more or less. 24-bit high-res audio streams are supported, but only with FLAC and ALAC. However, you'll only get this level audio from a local audio server or direct from your phone, as Sonos does not support high-res from third-party streaming services. I'm going to kind of punch the Arc in the nose and give the Elevate 2 points for supporting DTS. Sound control. With the Elevate, you have lots of options. You have 4 sound modes. Movies emphasizes action, explosions, any excuse to shake you with the bass. This mode tends to make everything louder, make sounds more angular. Direct, presented as originally intended, no funny business. Music, it deepens the bass, enriches the vocals, and smooths the sound. Gaming mode focuses on spatial audio to enhance how immersed you feel in the war scene, or the Mushroom Magic Kingdom. So these sound modes are neat, I suppose. On top of these, you can control bass, treble, dialogue, center, surround volume, surround balance, and subwoofer levels, height level channels, virtual X, volume limiter, and night mode. There may be a few more in there, it's pretty comprehensive. Sadly, you don't get advanced EQ. With Sonos, you have fewer levers, but you do have a reasonable level of control. You have very basic EQ controls, treble and bass. You can control the volume of the surrounds and the subwoofer separately. You also have a dialogue clarity mode, a volume limiter, and a night mode. You also have an auto sound calibration feature, TruePlay, but I'm not going to give it any credit until I hear a sound quality difference before and after the tuning. Let's just round down and say, nope, not yet. The Elevate definitely gives you greater control. Advanced EQ would be nice, but it gets the point. Ports and inputs. Well, it would be hard to find 2 philosophies that vary more. The Elevate. You got your pick of ports. More ports than any other soundbar I've reviewed. You have your eARC port, the one you use to connect to the TV, and is the updated version of the old fogey non-enhanced audio return channel. This is a different ARC. Can pass uncompressed audio, which gotta tell you sounds way better. Beyond this staple of a modern soundbar, you got the 2 HDMI pass-through ports. That will let you send your uncompressed sound right to the bar if your TV is not eARC enabled. USB, plays WAV and MP3 files only. Optical, an aux port dedicated to a voice assistant, and a separate auxiliary port for anything else you would want to play that you can squeeze into a 3.5mm aux cable. And you have your power port, which is actually the most important one. So about that voice assistant dedicated aux input. You would think that this port would be special in some way, like the bar would change its input to aux VA when it starts outputting sound. Nope, I suppose the only reason it's named is so you can keep track of the aux input you plugged into it. I suppose aux 1 and aux 2 would be more ambiguous. However, don't let the name boss you around. Feel free to plug anything you want into either aux port. Big picture, VIZIO made it impossible for you not to be able to get your audio content on the bar, so bravo there. Pretty much the ports give you everything you really need to know about the different inputs, except for Chromecasting and Bluetooth, which rounds the number of inputs to 8. It's a lot of inputs to keep track of for sure. As with the VA port, you would hope these inputs would be smart and auto-activate based on information starting and stopping. Alexa, play awesome music. This is how TVs work. Pressing a button on my Blu-ray remote auto-switches input to Blu-ray. However, the Elevate does avoid one of my biggest pet peeves. That is, if you are listening to a TV audio source and you want to start casting, the bar does not tell the TV to start playing audio out of the TV speakers. It keeps accepting TV audio and quietly throws it in the dumpster as not to interrupt your song or podcast. Maybe this is a strange circumstance with an attention-deficient customer, but noticing and handling this detail is appreciated very much. Sonos ports. Just HDMI eARC, Ethernet, and power, really. Anyway, Sonos doesn't really do inputs in the plural. So for some, the one input decision is extremely frustrating, a non-starter to those trying to plug in Blu-ray players and gaming consoles directly into the bar, likely because their TV doesn't have an eARC pass-through. On the other hand, for those customers maybe exclusively streaming, Sonos is able to deliver a more seamless experience. So what Sonos does the best, as far as I can tell, is instill confidence that when you turn on your TV, your bar is going to deliver sound. Other bars may be on the wrong input, maybe take a long time to load up, maybe don't produce sound without some power cycling or input cycling, or maybe even most of the time works just fine. I've had all these scenarios happen to me with non-Sonos bars. So when I approach the Elevate, for instance, I get a little knot in my stomach about how this episode is going to go. Is the bar going to serve me or the other way around? A Sonos customer does not get the stomach knot, doesn't know about the stomach knot. There are no inputs to worry about, which again, yes, is good and bad. And the bar stays on and ready all the time. There is no ultra low power mode or off button. Yes, the Sonos does eat more power, so it's a bit decadent, indulgent in that way. I think these choices Sonos made make it an object of scorn, but also helps it stand out as a Halo product that at the very least helps it keeps its value. For instance, I don't think you're going to see a Sonos Arc get a 40% price discount a few days after launch. Okay, in reality, Sonos actually has two inputs. You have eARC and you have some sort of a networked audio source. All that being said, I'm going to give 2 points to VIZIO for bringing so much flexibility and utility to the bar. Audio streaming options. Interesting, as there is zero overlap. With the Elevate, you got Bluetooth, really flexible, but not really optimal in terms of sound quality, and Chromecast, high quality Wi-Fi streaming, but only works with specific content providers. But there's a lot of support. The Sonos Arc. You have AirPlay 2, which is a really great option if you have an Apple device. You can stream any audio source with Wi-Fi quality, and you have integrated content partners embedded in the Sonos app, if you like to manage your audio that way. You have a pretty strong selection list there: Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, Prime Music, Audible, Pandora, TuneIn, and many more. If you can't find your audio there, it's probably very obscure. Per usual, VIZIO is much more of the people when it comes to streaming. Good options for everyone. The Sonos Arc is offering you, I'd say, the possibility, if you have an Apple device and are subscribed to a number of supporting services, an elite music controller experience. But if you don't really have subscriptions or an Apple device, the Sonos Arc could be extremely disappointing. Each system gets a point. Multi-room audio. VIZIO does offer speakers that can handle multi-room audio. The Elevate is not in that ecosystem. The Arc, and while this is obviously a major selling point of a Sonos product, you are buying a speaker that will talk to other Sonos speakers. As you continue to buy Sonos products, well, you have a pretty cool system for delivering audio around the house. I'd say amongst the best out there. To be forthright, I have about 30 Sonos speakers. As much or more than sound quality, I appreciate how easy Sonos has made it to get music all around the house, and allowing me to easily use a speaker as a soundbar in the living room, or a music box to extend music playing in the basement. This flexibility, cooperation, and integration is special, period, and brings a lot of value to this product. Multi-room audio is probably not why people buy soundbars, but I'm going to give Sonos a really shiny point here. Voice assistants. With the Elevate, you can bring your own device and connect to the VA aux port, or any aux port. The Elevate also supports Google Assistant, so you can get the Elevate to do things by yelling at your device or some Google Home product. With the Arc, you got an integrated Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant. No need to find a separate device. The Arc wins here because it's integrated and you don't have to awkwardly employ a middleman. And if you hate microphones, you can always mute it with the little microphone button here at the end of the bar. Controls. The Elevate is tripartite. Bar controls, remote, and app. On the bar, you have your 5 3D clickety-clackety buttons: power, input, Bluetooth, volume down, and volume up. No track control. With the remote, you can control just about everything I mentioned in the sound adjustment section. It's another one-off remote that is really useful to control the Elevate, and that's about it. The big distinguisher is that it has a display on the top, which gives you a firmer sense of what you are adjusting. I think you can control virtually every setting with this remote. The VIZIO also has a complete controller app, the VIZIO SmartCast controller. That allows you to completely disregard the remote, so that's good. I will compliment VIZIO in that the interface makes it easy for you to see what you can adjust all in one screen, and then make that adjustment very quickly, theoretically. I'll come back to this in the user experience section. The Arc has 3 touch controls on the top of the bar that supports volume changes, play pause, and audio tracking with swipes from square to square. You have the same controls on the 2 surrounds, which is very convenient, especially if the surrounds are sitting next to you, so you can play pause the music and track around. I'll give each a point. VIZIO provides a dedicated remote that's optional, that I'm sure many people will like. And with Sonos, I really appreciate the play pause and track control options on the bar and surrounds. The Elevate display is both extremely minimal, made of 11 LEDs, and rather ambitious in that it uses the LEDs to well explain to you everything that is going on. So it's a 2-parted display, a 10 LED vertical column, white LEDs, on the left of the bar. Next to this column on the right is a single multicolor LED. The 10 LED vertical column largely gives you representation of volume and levels. The single colored LED is largely used to represent input and confirmation of 3D audio. For instance, green means Dolby Atmos, and amber means some sort of DTS. You can review these 7 pages in the manual to be an expert on the display, which you know normally should just be self-evident. Other than volume, I'd say you probably wouldn't pay much attention to the patterns, but rather you would just look for LED activity to confirm that the bar hears your command. The Arc's display is really just a little indicator that something's happening through different illumination patterns. If it's blinking, it's thinking. It lights up with a volume change or a pause. It goes off the notion that the user knows what should be happening, because really the only way to control it is with the app or with your TV remote that just adjusts volume. And the user just really needs to know that the bar is acknowledging their request. One limitation of the ultra minimal display is that you can't get a sense of where you are in the volume envelope. Oftentimes the TV is not helpful in that it just gives you a plus or minus. Ideally, they might help the customer out on this a little bit, but you can always check the app if you really need to know. It would also be helpful to know if the bar is reading 3D audio. All the other soundbar companies put this kind of confirmation right on the bar. Though you can always check for the Dolby Atmos logo in the now playing screen of your Sonos app. I'll give the Elevate a point here in that it does give a little bit more useful information than the Sonos Arc. Sound quality, the Elevate. Quite frankly, I was pleasantly surprised. I think the 18 speaker drivers are actually doing things. The sound definitely outpaces the price. Overall, the sound was rich and dense, with clear highs and bass to spare. Maybe a surprise, but I kind of want to pair the quality of sound to the Q950T. Maybe not quite there, but you know, it's pointing to it. I noticed solid mid-level dynamics, it has a full-bodied sound profile, and the high frequencies are clear and distinguishable. This bar is cooking with whole milk. The subwoofer is quite potent, you know, shake the couch kind of potent. However, one might complain that the bass lacks high-level definition. As the driver faces down, the bassification really does spread nicely around the room. So maybe if you didn't place the sub, you can't really tell that easily where the sub is placed. The bass sound spread does add to the intensity of the system. To my great surprise, the surround somehow didn't ruin the whole thing, even though it looks like they should. Though this really reinforces the idea that the bar and sub are the stars, and maybe just a little surround can go a long way. The Sonos, I think, is pretty much known to have a classy, buttoned-up sound. Crispy highs, substantial mid-range, but not muddy, with well-defined bass frequencies for both the bar and sub. I know ratings.com hates the Arc, I can see you writing that right now, but since that review there was a firmware update that fixed a lot about what they were complaining about. I will point out that the Arc System sub is definitely cleaner than the Elevate sub. I might suggest putting the sub in the TV center line if possible, as I don't think it's ideal if the right side of your living room is a lot more bassy than the left. The Sonos surrounds, as mentioned, are not true surrounds. That is, it takes ambient sound from the soundbar and the surrounds duplicate. Maybe I'm being repetitive, but not gonna lie, I'd much prefer if they offered a true 6th and 7th channel, though the strategy they're employing seems to work maybe okay for traditional surround sound. I totally get it if you think I should bleep off for being okay with this. All that being said, I'd say the Arc, it's totally the bar you bring home to meet your mother. 3D sound. You know, unfortunately 3D sound is underwhelming on both products. The Sonos doesn't have true rear channels, so it's a little unclear how the surround contribute to 3D effects. I think the Elevate's 3D sound is a little more convincing, but it never seems to really hold firm or gel. Not as much as I did with the JBL Bar 9.1, for instance. Here is how 3D audio works with these bars. That sounded 3D-ish. Minutes later, that was definitely a 3D. So that whole that was 3D happened about 30% more with the Elevate. I tend to believe that with either of these soundbars, a casual consumer who has had only cheap soundbars or only used TV speakers would say, I didn't know soundbars could sound this good. I've had people come over and say as much. But I don't think those compliments have anything to do with the 3D ability. Probably more just the raw sound that soundbars can create. As usual, there is a world of difference between streaming 3D sound and uncompressed 3D sound. Streaming Atmos, so Dolby Digital Plus on the Elevate, is as far as I can figure no more impressive than surround, maybe even less. I think very few are going to be able to tell if it's streaming Atmos or surround. Even those people who are kind of familiar with what is supposed to be going on. With streaming, the upward firing speakers are pretty weak. I found this to be true with a lot of bars. Uncompressed 3D sound is just so much more powerful. Everything gets so much louder, without distortion, and fuller. You still don't get the kind of 3D precision from either of the bars that you would hope, but you are getting your chest cavity thoroughly massaged. You can hear a lot more detail, and you are in general more convincingly put in the middle of the action. So what about these VIZIO sound profiles? I'll highlight one. Movie mode hulks up the sound for sure. Turns the bar into a wrecking machine, really highlighting the collisions and cutting sounds. You don't really get this option from Sonos. Sonos keeps it classy, which might be a euphemism for boring. This is not saying you can't shake your house with Sonos, but it doesn't offer a mode with that kind of super stimulating post-processing. The VIZIO sound is a wild night of clubbing. The Sonos is an expensive date with your wife. You know, the wife that you like. I think these soundbar profiles probably do suit fairly opposite personalities. So about the Elevate's rotating speakers. I listened to 10 movie clips with someone randomizing the up and down, and I was able to guess 7 out of 10 times. So there is something to notice there, but it's not all that strong. This isn't really a criticism of the Elevate. Other bars probably have the same problem, but you can't rotate their upward firing speakers to find out. So what's up with the music playback? So I would listen to The Weeknd on the Elevate and think this sounds pretty rich, pretty decent, pretty good little music box, or a nice really short and wide music box. I'd then switch right over to the Sonos and think, well, this sounds really professional and pleasant. Just really clean, it sounds like a fancy dinner party, or the soundbar you want when hosting Christmas dinner. Then I go back to the Elevate and think, maybe this sound profile is more fun, less conservative. I honestly have trouble recommending one bar from a sound perspective. I think if you are more on the physical media side, I'd go Elevate, and Sonos if on the music video streaming side. Though I should point out that not being able to full-heartedly recommend Sonos here is a huge knock because it's far more expensive. I'm giving both bars 2 points. User experience. Oh, you asked for it. Or you didn't. Either way, I'm going to tell you about it. The Elevate has given me some serious headaches. Every time I want to start an audio session or make a sound adjustment, I break out into a nervous sweat. Really only maybe 25% joking here. It's a lot of work to put this all together as a one-man show, and a Defiant soundbar doesn't help. Let's start with setup. It took me about 2 hours, a few network restarts, and a call to VIZIO to get the bar completely up and running, connected to Wi-Fi. After about 20 minutes, I could control the bar with the app, but could not Chromecast. So I was kinda but not totally Wi-Fi connected, and I had no idea what that meant. To be quite honest, I was tempted to not even review this bar during the setup experience, but I wrestled it for you anyway. Once it's completely set up, here's a list of annoyances you may encounter. It doesn't do a great job staying synced with the TV, so the TV may be on and the bar may be off. A power cycle may be necessary to get audio to start playing. You might need to cycle through inputs a couple times. The rotating speaker may or may not respond to 3D content. The rotating speakers would not always respond to the remote nor app. About half the time, the VIZIO app tells you the bar is unavailable, with grayed out buttons. This happens even if the bar is actively playing audio, whether it be 3D audio, surround sound, or just even Chromecasting. The power button on the app seems to be active but doesn't seem to have any effect if pressed. If the bar is plugged in and network connected, the app should always be ready to serve. IMF HO. when you are at least ostensibly able to control the bar with the app, let's say you want to change sound modes. It very often won't let you. You are on movie and you select direct. It defaults you back to movie, no explanation. This can happen at any time, even when no audio is playing, not just during a 3D audio session, which due to its complexity, soundbar makers may limit your adjustment options. Sometimes you can change your sound mode, but the app does not recognize the change. You will probably notice at some point that when you make a level adjustment, the app will just reject your request. You want to increase the dialogue channel from 0 to 5. Once you are done, the app will revert it back to 0. Other times you want to change the bass from 4 to an 8, and it will only let you change in increments of 1. If all this is supposed to be happening, explanations are not given. And it's not really all that super fun. All these quirks can happen in multiple sound modes and multiple audio codecs. In one experience, when I was testing video through a pass-through, for example on Apple TV, it took me 15 minutes to get it up and running. Neither of the pass-throughs would recognize the device. I had to turn the bar on and off, unplug it, and eventually doing a complete factory reset, which led to it playing audio but not video. And eventually, after a few more unplugging and replugging both power and HDMI, it showed both video and audio. From a user experience perspective, if these behaviors persist, it's a soul crusher. What makes it that much worse is that otherwise I really kind of like the VIZIO Elevate, even if it just worked as it's designed to work, which is certainly a bit, let's say, unique. It is so close to being a really compelling product. Maybe it is to you even with these issues. The Sonos Arc system might as well work perfectly by comparison. Really, the only reoccurring bug is that you might need to refresh your now playing screen on the app to see that Dolby Atmos logo. But even that issue, which I noticed months ago, seemed to have gone away. Maybe there are some unevenness in sound for a few seconds when grouping speakers. I think it's quite possible that those that are not used to managing multiple rooms might get confused by the interface at first, but at least the system does what you tell it to do. I could always change levels and sound modes without Sonos going, or something like that. Sonos gets 3 points here. Working reliably is a BFD. Sonos haters, just take a deep breath. Conclusion. The Elevate is an ambitious soundbar that delivers sound well beyond its price point. VIZIO decided that it wants to delight customers by making the bar as flexible as possible. Figuratively, with wide audio codec support and an enormous number of port options, keeping you out of the lurch if your TV does not support eARC, or if you still love to just plug your phone into a speaker and play it that way, and literally flexible by allowing you to use 2 of the channels as ear level or upward firing speakers. The wired surrounds, even though eyebrow-raisingly small, I believe complement the bar well and do their part to deliver impressive sound. And as I mentioned, if you can hide the wires with a couch or in the wall, maybe the wires are not that much more of an inconvenience than a power cord. Unfortunately, the UX bugs absolutely kills any enthusiasm I would have for this bar. Really, at its worst, more frustrated than any other soundbar I've tested. And it has really good competition with the Q950T. If none of the bugs existed, honestly, this bar would not be for me either, due to perhaps the possibility that it would not be turned on when I need it, or that I would need to manually change the input before using the voice assistant, or that it would just be a one-off system in my house. Though I can see how these concerns would be a non-issue for many of you. The user experience problems, well, create a nightmare that if encountered regularly, will infuriate anyone. Unfortunately, I can't recommend this product assuming it behaves for you as it behaved for me. The Sonos Arc is obviously not for everyone due to its price and limited audio codec support, and its ballsy decision to not support pass-throughs. The Sonos may not have the most bold, impress your friend, oppress your neighbor sound, though I believe it to be quite good, responsible, restrained. Maybe a little better at music than video audio. Where it really shines is in usability and ecosystem. Both in terms of its internal integration, all Sonos speakers are created equal in that they are allowed to participate with each other. With each purchase, you are not only getting a cool thing, but you are building up a cooler, bigger system. And you have these external partnerships with elegant integration of 2 voice assistants and many, many other audio streaming partners. But maybe more importantly than all of this, the bar disappears. You don't have to worry about whether it's going to work or not. As I mentioned, it doesn't turn off. It is always ready to augment your TV audio. You can fall in love with it and maintain warm feelings for it for an extended period of time. It's family friendly. Maybe this kind of life is too domestic and does not fit your wild stallion lifestyle. Elevate, it seems to me, you are doomed for a constant cycle of fights and makeup relations. The sound is really good after the fight, which may not be sustainable for you in the long term. It's quite possible you can tame it better than I did. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I know it was long. Like, subscribe, and comment. These videos take a lot of blood, yes, literally, and sweat to publish, so show a little love. Gonna wrap this up. Catch you on the next one.